Okay. Now I'm picking up a little bit of an accent. Where are you originally from?
Yeah, I do get asked that quite a bit. I did travel quite a bit. Spent a good deal on Reykjavik, Iceland, a little while over in Maasaxlok, in Malta, and different parts of Germany. But I've been here for the most part since I was about 17 years old.
Okay.
Been over in the United States.
Now, where did the character Greywolf come from? Where did that start?
Well, I believe, and I tell this to all my students, not my students, but all the people I instruct and help develop, that every character you have really should be an over-the-top just extension of yourself, which is what it really is. Because I feel like to truly embrace something, to truly become one with something, and purvey it to the best of your ability, it really has to be just something that's already there deep inside of you. So I say find that thing inside of you, find that thing that you really are, and take it and amplify it tenfold, and bring that to the ring. And everything that really, I guess you could say, it's the character of Greywolf really is just an amplified version of myself. Everything I believe in, I sort of carry to the ring with me. I have a certain intensity about me whenever I do really anything I put my mind to. So I really carry that into my character. And then, I throw back to my ancestors, with war paint. They'd go into battle with war paint on. And, so I really try to convey that also to the people. So it's really just an over-the-top extension of who I already am, just brought forth a little bit of costume and a little bit of war paint on.
So I would imagine that it didn't really take long for the character to evolve.
No, not really. It was just a sort of course, you go through different incarnations. When I first started, they tried to put something silly on me. That's something I'd rather not discuss, but it sort of, evolved from there to know what it became today. And I believe that your character, I feel, evolves just as you do. You always have to reinvent yourself because we constantly grow as people. And we're never the same person we were, a year ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, because we learn new things and we have different interactions with people and we have new experiences for ourselves. And, so I believe our characters, evolve as well as we evolve. And you have to evolve at the times as well, something that, may work, 1 year, might be stagnant in another. So you always have to evolve and reinvent yourself, with, I believe, remaining true to who and what you are.
Okay, it's fair. What's your long? I mean, you've been in this business for over a decade now, coming in on 2 decades. What are your long-term goals?
As far as long-term goals, I believe everybody try to make it, make it as far as they can, and I think that's my goal at the moment is just to make it as far as I can. I've done extra work for WWE. I've been on Ring of Honor television. And, wherever, as far as I can go. And I feel like I have, a message to spread to people, just a great message to bring to people. So I could affect people's lives, help the world, become a better place than I left it when I entered. So as far as I can go to get the greatest position and the greatest podium, I guess you could say, from which to speak to people and really just relay that message and help influence people's lives in a better way. That would be to my satisfaction. Of course, everybody will say, I'll go to WWE, or I'll go to TNA, or I'll go here, or I'll go there. Well, wherever the road happens to take me is where I'm going to go, and I'm going to keep pushing forth as hard as I can, wherever that course may be, and giving it all I have every step along the way.
Now, when that time comes, to finally undo the laces for the last time and to hang up the sword and put away the face paint, do you see yourself in a teaching role?
One of the old philosophers, I believe it was Socrates, Socrates or Plato said it best, that in our infancy, what we do is we learn goodness, truth, and beauty. As we become a man and we grow, we practice goodness, truth, and beauty. And in our old age, what do? Is we teach goodness, truth, and beauty. And I really do believe those principles. And I believe, yes, what I've learned, I always like to pay forward, even now, from what I do know, what knowledge I do possess. I frequently give of it, and I always want people to learn. And nothing brings me greater joy than seeing somebody that I have helped, or given knowledge or given wisdom to utilize that knowledge to grow as a person and apply that knowledge and become better themselves. So it always brings me such gratification whenever I can help aid somebody else, coming up. Because even now, even though I'm not down at the Monster Factory as much as I'd like, when I am there, I do help in assisting coach the newer students coming up, and just giving advice to anybody, along the way, fitness and diet and nutrition, whatever I can to possibly help people better themselves, and become a better person for this world.
Now, what can you tell somebody that's young, up and coming, that wants to get into the business? What, in your opinion, what is the best thing that these young kids can do? The right direction they can go as far as schools, training, and just to get into the business, but doing it the right way.
Well, first I really must emphasize, find a good training facility. Do your research. Don't be afraid to pay the money and travel, because ultimately you will get what you pay for. Mm-hmm. And it always is better to find the best training facility that you can and get to a training facility. And as I said, do your research and find somebody who's a reputable teacher, a reputable instructor, and has had a name in the business for quite a few years, and really has evidence of people they've put out whose path you could follow as well. Also, and I cannot emphasize this one enough, and I don't know why it should be an issue, and it's something that should be talked about, should be discussed, is get to a gym. There's no reason whatsoever that you shouldn't be in a gym. I know people say, well, CM Punk, he didn't look like he goes to the gym. Well, I guarantee you, he's a superb athlete. There's no reason for anybody not to go to the gym, for your own protection, to protect your body, and to protect your opponent. The more muscle you have, obviously, the more you're going to be able to protect yourself and the person that you're working with. Because ultimately, it's a dance, and you're always looking out for the benefit and the welfare of the person you're working with. So you always want to get in the gym and protect yourself, also cosmetically. Because whether people know it or not, or want to believe it or not, a lot of what our marketing is, personally, as professional wrestlers, is sex appeal. And, to have a much better body is going to appeal to that much more of a broader audience. That's something people at the top in the mainstream market can put forth the market a lot more efficiently, as if you have a really good body, because they know they're going to have the appeal to that much broader of an audience. And it just makes you feel better about yourself. Why wouldn't you want to, be in shape and, feel good about yourself and, know you can do things? So I cannot emphasize anymore, proper diet, nutrition, and get to a gym. There's no reason for anyone not to get to a gym. If you want to be a professional wrestler, you're a professional athlete. Every other professional athlete, with the exception of, things like bowling and golf, I don't feel fall into the same category, really require you to be in top peak physical condition. So get to a gym and get to a really good, proper training facility is what I can really emphasize to the younger students coming up.
Now, as far as modern day wrestling, mainstream wrestling, do you feel that a lot of these guys are maybe hiding behind the larger physique to hide the fact that they might not have the technical skills in the ring?
I don't think that's ultimately the case with what we're seeing now, even in the mainstream. Because even if you look at athletes, well, of course, we all know what happened to the Benoit, incident, and now that they have a lot more testing than they did before. Mm-hmm. If you look at the physiques from the 80s, everyone looked like a bodybuilder. Everyone was larger than life, and that's what they marketed. Everyone being larger than life and much bigger. And you did have certain athletes that, I think would hide behind being a bigger athlete, so they wouldn't have to do as much. But as far as today, you can, because there's such rigorous drug testing, especially for anyone that's looking to enter the mainstream field. You have to go through a year or two in NXT before you even get to the mainstream roster. Right. To bring you up to the WWE from NXT. So I really don't feel that that's as much the case. Even for what they're doing now as far as tryouts, you have to be in peak physical condition. I just had a good personal friend of mine, someone who I've worked with since I've been in the business, and that's Luis the Punisher Martinez. He just had a tryout down in Florida for NXT. Briscoe had seen him, he liked him, and, he had done a couple of appearances on, different WWE programs as an extra. So he brought him down to Florida, and he was just saying how much rigorous physical testing and trial they put you through, that you must endure just to even earn a place on NXT right now. It's a 3-day camp, and it's absolutely brutal. He says it's the hardest thing he's ever done in his life. So even if someone's big, they have to have a certain degree of athleticism to them. And I really feel, in order to even get to that level at this point, because it's not like it was, again, in the days of the territories where you can work and hone your craft, and, you had different sort of physiques and different style physiques. It isn't like the days back then when you could do that and then sort of earn your spot from perfecting your craft. Now, what they really want is they'd rather train an athlete themselves, down at, fresh out of, a high school football player, a college, basketball wrestler, or whatever. They'd rather train someone themselves, and you really have to be in the top physical condition in order to do that. So everybody down there is really talented to even earn that spot. I really don't think that a lot of guys hide behind technical prowess as much as they might have been able to in the past.
I was just part of a show in Staten Island, New York. They have a program called Warriors of Wrestling, and one of their guests, they had Eugene, Nick Dinsmore, who used to be an NXT coach, and he held a seminar down there to basically show these kids what is expected of you at the NXT level, and the stories that were coming out of it. I mean, the guys, some guys are just throwing up in the corner, and
they try to make you do that. Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, it opened up a lot of eyes to some of these kids that really thought they were working hard, and then they saw what it takes to try out at the NXT level, and it made them basically train all the way they trained. It made a change. Everybody changed.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I mean,
just even having
I see where you're coming from.
Knowledge.
I see where you're coming from when you were talking about your friend down there and how grueling it was over 3 days. I mean, this was only a half hour. I can't imagine 3 days.
Oh yeah. And we have someone right there now. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Steve Cutler down in NXT. He's been there quite a while. It's been a little over a year. He was picked up from a Monster Factory when Java Briscoe came in for the seminar.
Okay.
So he had seen, Steve Cutler, who was, a high school athlete, a former Marine. He was very eager to listen, very athletic, and he was taking bumps through the ceiling. He was just flying all over the place. Really excellent physicality on him. So they liked him and they picked him up. And so he sort of also gives us an idea of, what the training is like every day and what sort of drills they run. So we sort of have that inside information as to what they're looking for and what they're doing down there, sort of on a day-to-day basis, as well as, the inaugural basis where they're trying to, push you to the breaking point, which is what they try to do at the 3-day camp. They want to see how much you can take and how much you can survive, and who's going to drop and who's going to, commit, and who's got the endurance to pull through all that. And a lot of people don't realize that. People, think, you go out, you buy a pair of boots, buy a costume, learn how to run the ropes, and you can try out to be a professional wrestler for WWE, which just is not the case.
Yeah, not at all, because being very heavily involved in independent wrestling in New York and New Jersey, you get to see some really, really good wrestling, and you also get to see some really, really bad wrestling. And it's unfortunate that when you do see the bad wrestling, that you kind of find out later on that they might be students of their school, and they're just getting a little airtime out there, but it just shows you how far that they are from the really, really good wrestling that you watched that same night. And and I guess the only way you're going to learn is when you literally get thrown out there in the middle of it all.
Exactly. That's one of my comments is on that as well. I've seen, you see the good, you see the bad, you see the ugly.
Yeah.
And, there is a place for students. And after speaking to so many of the old veterans, I'm good friends with Rock and Rebel, who's still off WWE and, WCW, or it was WWF at the time when he was working for them, WCW a little bit, ECW, he was with them. But he told me, even when he was first training, he was in the rings with, some of the old people, down in Puerto Rico. He was only with, Garvin and people of that nature when he was just breaking in. So there is a place for students, but give the students what they know they can do. There's so many times, I see folks who have no idea who someone is, who isn't in shape or isn't wearing proper gear, and, they don't know this person from anybody, and they say, oh, okay, here you go, you have 10 minutes to decide your finish or what you want to do during a match, with no clue as to how to book it, how to book it all. So I just think there's too much permitted in the business now. There's too much that's acceptable that would not have been acceptable 30 years ago. Any kid, as I said, with a pair of boots and a pair of trunks can hop in a ring